Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore. This is Hollywood on the Rocks. I'm not even sure if you can hear me. How's that music? Is it a little loud? A little loud? All right. Today on the show, well, first of all, I rushed to get here. So I'm a little off, but let's talk about, is Star Wars dead? Alan and I have seen all of the recent episodes of The Mandalorian. We're caught up. I watched episode 4 late last night. I have a lot of things to say. Plus, Picard season 3. 5 episodes have aired so far. Are they holding up? We'll talk about it. Plus, an early reaction to Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Alan is furiously finding the photos for that right now so we can discuss it. And I may have a little bit of a rant. Also joining us is the director John Clayton Doyle from I'm an Electric Lampshade, and possibly the subject of that documentary. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Plus, your chat comments and questions. I'm way more enthusiastic than I should be for as tired as I am. So let's get the show started. Alan is waiting in the wings. He's getting ready. Alan, put your shirt on.
Hey.
First of all, I'm so glad you put your shirt on there, Alan.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
I wasn't sure you were going to make it. Wasn't sure you're going to make it. But lots to talk about. This Sunday they did a preview screening of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I can't wait to talk about that. Before we do, we're gonna see who's in the chat. And I actually,
by the way, you need to calm down. You're way too excited when you.
Am I way too excited? I am. Well, can I tell you why I'm excited? I'll tell you exactly why I'm excited. An hour ago, a little over an hour ago, as I am doing the Nerdrotic Nooner with Gary Beekler, I got an email from WonderCon saying, "Hey, we had a panel cancel. Can you do a panel Friday at 7 p.m. at WonderCon in Anaheim?" And guess what I said? Heck yeah, I can do a panel. And you will be there with me. So we are doing a panel at 7 p.m. Friday. I don't know what room it's in. We'll be doing a Film Threat meetup Friday night. So look for us there. Is my camera working? It seems to be like I had to
for some reason I thought we had fixed that, but
all right.
Well, you got kind of a blue tinge to you right now.
No one wants to look at me anyways. Yeah. Most people are listening to this, but Friday, 7 p.m. at WonderCon in Anaheim, Alan and I will be doing a panel. We'll be joined by Dante James is going to be there. And I don't know who else. I asked Paulie from Latino Slant if he could join us on the panel. I'm also going to see who else is available. It's very last minute. It's going to be a fun panel. So Friday night Film Threat meetup, and I'll probably be wandering around on Saturday also.
And I will be on a panel called "Everyone's a Critic" at 4:00 on Friday as well. So
I am going to be in the audience of that panel, heckling you
again.
Don't take it personal, Alan. But let's see who's here today with us. David Glenn says, "Howdy, everyone." Zavin, "Star Wars is so dead that not even movie magic can retcon the IP back to life." Tony Bowers says, "Hello, hello." Am I saying it correctly? Hello, hello. If you know the intonation is meant to evoke a specific person when I say hello, hello. See if anyone knows that. Wizard Check, East Coast here on coffee number 3. I'm only on coffee number 1. So there you go. Akanika, LA is not safe. It's not. I'm just objectively going by the numbers. I know that there are parts of LA you may feel safe, and that's fine because that exists. But the parts that I have our mailbox is on Wilshire Boulevard. Right, Wilshire and whatnot. You're free to, if you want to get something for free, mail a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Threat 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500 Los Angeles, California 90036. If you're watching on the show, you'll see the address scrolling at the bottom. As I drive up Wilshire Boulevard to check my mailbox, which I do about every other week, it's terrible. It's terrible. I have had 3 friends assaulted. One friend of mine was beaten by a person and woke up in a coma in the hospital.
Oh, gee.
Almost all my friends I talk to have been a victim of crime at some level. And Melrose Avenue, where we used to actually record when the Film Threat podcast was just audio only. We used to record on Melrose Avenue. That area is crime rate. Armed robbery during the day on Melrose Avenue. I used to live off Melrose Avenue. So from where I sit, and when you look at the numbers and you see videos online and you look at the statistics, it's not a safe city. That when I saw that someone had painted that on the sign, I posted it on my personal Twitter. But it's kind of crazy.
So I was planning on going to a screening at the Alamo Draft House. Am I going to be safe going down there?
There was a woman who's an Olympic athlete who was assaulted right in that area. I know that area. The Draft House is right there. There's a restaurant called Joey's DTLA. I would take the train all over LA. No, it's not. It's not the way it used to be. Yeah. Let's get through these.
Yeah, I used to take the train. I don't take the train anymore.
Yeah, Dante, we were talking about taking the train and just how bad it's gotten. You have to find the car that doesn't smell like a toilet. That's my advice. John Orchard for 10 says, yes, Jim, Star Wars is dead, grabs its wallet. And James Ricciuti, who's a member, I can't wait to see Alan's dog today. Love that pooch. And James, first of all, I need to thank James. He sent a letter to the Film Threat, a physical letter, and he mailed us, Alan, these gifts. Look at these wonderful gifts. Can you see that?
Hold on.
Really cool. They're like a challenge coin.
Oh, there you go.
Is that James? James, I cannot thank you enough. They arrived in the mail. I will get them to Dante and Alan this weekend at WonderCon. I'm going to read just a few sentences out of this. Says, hello, Chris Gore. I've been a fan for a couple of decades, and I am a Film Threat channel member. My wife and I remember the old punk rock Film Threat fanzine, and then we rediscovered you on Attack of the Show. Over the past couple of years, I've been watching your YouTube channel twice a week. You and Alan are great, and I catch you both on all the other shows you guys do. Also, thanks for introducing me to Dante and Verbal Riot. I love his perspective. And then he encloses these amazing challenge coins. So I have these for you as well. James, thank you so much. That is very kind. Yeah, you're welcome to mail us stuff to the Film Threat mailbox. But yeah, the dog is in the background. So there you go. James, you're awesome. That's great. Thank you.
She's chewing on her nails right now.
Beerosaurus Rex says, late again. This is outrageous, egregious, preposterous. What, like 2 minutes? We're not. If we're more than 5 minutes late, something is wrong. But generally, it's just a couple of minutes. Usually, because Alan and I are scrambling to put the show details of the show together. Why? Because we want to do a great show for you. So there you go. Shucksy says, all right, let's go Film Threat. Sean Hu for 742. I appreciate that Daly and Goldstein effectively told me not to go see Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And Eric K. Hey, Eric K. How you doing, man? Third time I ask is a charm. Has any of the panel seen 1979's All Quiet on the Western Front?
Yep.
I saw it like back when it first came out, and I barely remember it.
I saw it in my Western Civ class in high school.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Eric, thank you for the support of the channel. We appreciate it. And I appreciate your emails. Even though I'm very terse. I will respond to all my emails, but you're going to get a very short, cool, sounds great, awesome, thank you. That's the extent. I sometimes write a little bit more, but you know. And then Brock Samsonite says, Victoria Alonso out.
What? Did this just happen?
I think this might be good news for Marvel. We talked about it on the Nooner, but I think this might be good news for Marvel. But I just think that that the company has a culture, and I don't think that much of Marvel will change. It's not going to be a very hard pivot. It's going to be very difficult for things to change. I just think that Marvel is a girl brand now. I just think it is. I'm sorry. Wizard Check says, Chris, I could have sworn I saw you at New York Comic Con a few years back, but was California sober then, so my memory could be fuzzy. I was there. I was there in either it was 2018, in 2018 or 2017.
Really?
Yes, I was at New York Comic Con.
Okay.
I was there just covering it. I wasn't. I don't even think I did any panels. But
I don't think you
out.
did, because I didn't even know you were there, and I knew you then. So.
Yeah. So yeah, no.
I knew you
I
did
was
Dragon
there.
Con.
Wizard
I knew
Shack,
you did Dragon Con, but not New York Comic Con.
Wizard Shack, not your imagination. MK Solid 82 for $9.99. Kenobi was the last straw. Not only was the show a mess, but Qui-Gon showing up to crack a joke after Anakin has murdered half the galaxy was just an insult to the fandom and common sense. R.I.P. Star Wars. And Lord Thaw says, last email I got from Chris had 7 words. It was a lot for Chris. Hey, there you go. And Mike MC Wong says, firing Gina Carano was the last straw for me. We'll talk about it. Jose for $1.99 says, have you guys watched the German film M from 1931? Yes, I saw it in film class in the 80s. It is a classic of German expressionism and all that. That sort of cabinet, it's influenced cabinet of the Dr. Caligari, that sort of stark lighting, that sort of goth German look. Yeah, love that. Love that. So there you go. Alan is dutifully bringing up your chat comments and questions, and I appreciate him for that. But something that I wanna actually make sure that you all know about is that I gotta find this. Where? Okay. All right. I had it. Here it is. I want to remind you, because we have like 350 people watching us live now as we speak. And here it is. Tickets are on sale for Attack of the Dock. I'm going to share my screen right now. Go to the FridaCinema.org. There is a link in the description of this episode of the show. Attack of the Dock, we have 2 screenings at 8 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. that will be followed by a Q&A with myself and the other filmmakers. By Alan Ng will be running the Q&A. So
I'm all over it.
So Alan, you've been drafted. You're
mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a list of questions when Olivia Munn shows up.
It's gonna be there are gonna be some surprise guests from the old G4. I promise you, there are surprise guests from the old G4 that are showing up. But tickets are on sale. We may add a screening if we get close to sellout here, but they're on sale now for Friday, April 21st at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. Go to thefridacinema.org or the link in the description of this episode. I hope to see you there. We're going to be doing a giveaway only at this premiere of a special limited edition poster of Attack of the Dock will be given away to people in attendance. It is not the design. It is a different design from the one that's the official poster. The official poster, the official artwork that's going to be on the Blu-ray, we have a very different design. Only will be given away in limited edition at that event. So there you go. Now let's pivot for a second. We're going to pivot. And I don't know if anyone there are comments about this. Okay, cool. Sanjuro Shinjitsu says, Kevin Pereira. I have communicated with Kevin, and I feel like he may have something to say about the movie, but I cannot say whether or not he will be in attendance at this event. And I will say this movie is, I mean, in many ways, it's a tribute to the old show. It's to remind you of like why it had such a following. It's a lot of member berries, but it comes with perspective. And I hope that if you can't attend the screening, the movie the following week will be coming out on video on demand. And I'll have links to pre-order Attack of the Doc in April. And I would love if you would pre-order it, because I want to hear people's thoughts. Okay, we'll get to the star. Alan is all over that Q&A like he is all over 69. Well, 69, it's no longer a thing anymore. It's no longer a thing. We reached 69. Now we're 69,400 subs, climbing up towards 100,000.
Now we're going for 96. Okay. I did that for the clip. It's
let's do a take two, Alan.
96. Let's go.
And there's that there's that uncomfortable awkwardness, which is,
I know, because you need more, and it's like, no, you got the clip.
What I love about Alan. All right, all right, we're gonna pivot. We are going to pivot. It is my goal to pivot because I want to get right into this conversation. Let's talk about the latest episode of The Mandalorian. It's The Mandalorian episode. Who gives a shit? I think it's episode 4.
Episode 4.
Episode 4
just came out this morning.
The previous 3 episodes have been a mixed bag. The first episode, almost nothing happens. There's something of a goal. Mm-hmm. Mando has to wade in the waters of the what is it? The waters
Mandalore.
On Mandalore. He has to go down to a mine. It's a video game. It's a video game, folks. This season of The Mandalorian, I mean, it was already kind of that. It was task-oriented. It really is a video game. You got to go here. You got to get this. You got to get that. We have to save so-and-so. We have to do that. It's just, I don't know what the emotional journey is for any of these characters. Why does it matter so much to Mando that he become a Mandalorian in good standing? Why is it so important to him? I don't know that that's made clear. What is Grogu? What is Grogu's goal? What is Bo-Katan's goal? When I say goal, I don't mean the task in front of them. I mean, what is the character journey? What journey are they on emotionally on the inside? What is that journey about? And in the first episode, it was all set up. Second episode was Bo-Katan saving Mando from the waters that he waded in. The third episode was a kind of a cool TIE fighter action scene that meant nothing, because there are no stakes with anything that's happening in the show. There are no stakes because nothing seems to be taken seriously. And it also seems to have diverted in tone to it's a show for children. Now that's fine. I just think that the way that the events are unfolding is it seems like this is for kids. Baby Yoda's cute and that's awesome, but Baby Yoda can't carry the show. Grogu cannot carry this show. This third episode that had these kind of bookends with Mando, and then this middle story with the scientist that's being rehabilitated to basically start a cloning program to clone Snoke. Clone Snoke from who? Or maybe that doctor. Look at that doctor's face. Is that doctor? I'm going to have a Snoke theory right now. When was the last time you heard that? There. The doctor kind of looks like Snoke. That doctor that's doing the cloning program. Maybe that's Snoke. Maybe he mixed kind of his own DNA with DNA of the Emperor, so it would be Force infused, and then ended up with sort of this ugly behemoth of Snoke. No, seriously, look at a picture of the doctor and then look at Snoke. That's my Snoke theory for you. But it's all leading to the sequels anyways, and we know how those turned out. So I don't know that many of us care. Now, this fourth episode, And I was just talking about this on the Nerdrotic Nooner. I just think that all the Mandalorian lore is stupid. You have to put the helmet on. You can put the helmet on as a kid, but you can never take it off. But you can take it off to eat, but you can't have anyone see you. But what if someone accidentally sees you? How do you get a haircut? How do you deal with hygiene? Also, why do they have to wear those helmets? What is the reason? I understand if we get into it when it comes to Jedi lore. Like when you start hearing what the philosophy is of the Jedi, it's selfless, material possessions. Jedi are not about material possessions. Like the Jedi lore makes sense to me. You have to grow and learn. You have you're a Padawan when you start. You need to learn to respect the lightsaber. At some point, you need to build your own lightsaber. You need to be trained by a Jedi master. You are a Padawan to that Jedi master. And at some point, you become a Jedi. The lore surrounding the Jedi makes sense to me. And they're baked into Jedi is very interesting lore and philosophy. There's interesting philosophy that are just baked into becoming a Jedi and what it means. Being a Jedi is not as much to do with superpowers. It has as much to do with the who you are inside your heart, as much as like learning sort of tricks and whatnot. But the Mandalorians, by contrast, the sort of lore and philosophy is not. It's just plain stupid. Is it based on any philosophy? Are there is there a reason? I feel like that we weren't given any real reasons as to why they need to hide their faces. In any case, this latest episode just felt like it could have been an episode of the old Land of the Lost TV show. I know I'm dating myself on that, but I loved that show as a kid. I was a kid where this giant pterodactyl thing steals a kid, takes it, and is going to feed it to her little pterodactyl babies. And now the Mandalorians have to go save them. Some of these scenes just seem downright stupid because there aren't any faces, with the exception of Bo-Katan taking her helmet off for a moment in this episode. It's all just people in masks. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's hard to get emotionally invested in the guy whose helmet is painted purple as opposed to the guy whose helmet is painted blue. I'm not kidding. What are their personality traits? And what was cool about the original Boba Fett, which is where, all of this came from, because he wore the Mandalorian armor, was that you didn't know much about him. And the more I get to know the lore of the Mandalorians, the dumber it becomes. And I can see why the Jedi defeated them, because their philosophy makes no sense. In any case, the end of this episode, the beginning of the episode, it looks like, so is Grogu being trained to be now a Mandalore? Are we going to just see a helmet on Grogu now, a little cute tiny helmet? Is he going to go for that? First of all, the baby's 50 years old and can't even speak. This is ridiculous. And that sort of fan baiting flashback scene during Order 66, when, you know what, I like, and by the way, I like Ahmed Best. I think he got a raw deal with the way that Jar Jar was basically the target for a lot of people's dislike of episode 1. And, that scene was fine, whatever. It's just more fan baiting member berries. Here's baby. And he's okay. So that was like 20 plus years ago was when Order 66 happened. It's probably 20 more than, it's like, I think that's like 25 years ago. So in that time, Grogu was being trained there as a 25-year-old, whatever species Yoda is, and never learned anything. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I did like seeing Ahmed Best, and I have like you know what? You're gonna get a bonus Gore rant here because I have something to say. I have a hot take. A freaking IKEA chair. Here's my hot take on Ahmed Best and Jar Jar. And first of all, I was so excited to see episode 1. I went to the Star Wars celebration, which was at the Denver Museum of Flight in Denver, Colorado, or just outside Colorado, if I recall. It was in Denver, Denver area. In any case, I went to that first celebration. It was awesome. And I saw all the panels. I was so excited. George Lucas was basically just like his imagination unhinged. I love the look of episode 1, the trailers. I was so excited. Obi-Wan. I mean, the hype surrounding episode 1 coming out was crazy. And then there was this character Jar Jar, and it's like, okay, he's the comic relief. And Ahmed Best was at that Star Wars celebration in Denver, Colorado, and he did a thing called the Jar Jar Jam, which was Ahmed Best doing he basically DJ'd a party, and you could go to this party, and I went, and it was super fun. And Ahmed Best was there DJing with all these fans. And it was, I don't know if anyone who went to that Star Wars celebration, it was the first one, and Star Wars Celebration 1, it was like that. It was like Denver, Colorado was cosplaying as Dagobah, because it was so soaked. It was a swamp. It was muddy. It rained the entire time, and all the panels took place in tents. And Anthony Daniels walked up the line and just thanked people for being there. And like all the stars that were just around and hung out. It was great. Then I saw episode 1, and I had heard that Jar Jar wasn't great, and people were not exaggerating. Okay, he was not great. But here is my hot take. The big problem with Jar Jar is screen time. That's it. There is always something in every Star Wars movie. There is something cute or something for comic relief that's in the background, this little side character. And Jar Jar was meant to be that character. What happened, unfortunately, is that Jar Jar was elevated to being the main character who effectively follows the hero's journey. It's not, when you look at all the characters from Star Wars Episode 1, there's no main character. Is Obi-Wan the main character? Is Qui-Gon Jinn the main character? Is Padme the main character? Is Anakin the main character? No, Jar Jar is. If you look at the hero's journey, unlikely hero, call to action, refusal of the call, leaves his homeworld, returns to the homeworld, becomes a conquering hero. And according to George Lucas, he based Jar Jar on the Disney character of Goofy, which I can believe. He's sort of goofy. He's sort of Buster Keaton, like walking around and stuff happening around him. He's also referenced Buster Keaton and Goofy. So here's the thing. If you've seen the Phantom edits, of which there are several different cuts, if you cut the screen time of Jar Jar down, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. He's no different than the Ugnaughts or R2-D2, or originally when Yoda was introduced. Remember when Yoda was introduced originally and he spoke backwards and was kind of cute? Jar Jar just needed less screen time. But George became so obsessed with him, he became the main character of the movie. And that's my hot take on Jar Jar. A freaking IKEA chair. All right, back to the Mandalorian episode.
Yeah.
Episode Who Gives a Shit. I just don't care. I don't feel that the stakes, I don't feel like the characters in the show even care about what's happening in the show.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Only because the script tells them. Now, Alan, my apologies. I have dominated the conversation here for a bit too long. But we have over 700 people watching us live. Please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Alan, I want to hear your take on the first 4 episodes of The Mandalorian.
The show sucks. I mean, look, okay, so I'm in that position where I haven't seen the first 2 seasons. I saw a bit of the first season, but and so I was gonna when you see the review of episode 1, of season 3, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and it confirmed everything. It's not a good series, and it's bad for several reasons. The episode that really turned me off was the third one, when it went on kind of that side mission of the Empire rehabilitation program, and that entire sequence was horrible in terms of, I think it wanted to be kind of like a Twilight Zone type episode, but the acting was horrible. Not the main guy, but the supporting characters in that, it was horrible. The dialogue, the way it was amateur hour. And there's got to be better actors in Hollywood. There's got to be a director who knows what he wants from, or she wants from a scene, but the dialogue comes off so stilted. It was unbearable to watch, and it dominated the majority of that episode. And then you had the good acting on the bookends with Pedro Pascal and Katie Sackhoff. And then I get into the fourth episode, and we're back to see all the Mandalorians, and I'm like, I feel like, and no offense to those members of the Mandalorians that are at the booths every year at Comic-Con, but it felt like that. It felt like I'm watching a bunch of people dressed up as Mandalorians, kind of fighting in a way that is kind of half-assed, kind of like we're doing this safe, and was not impressed. And you brought up the main problem this series has. Why do I want to become a Mandalorian? Well, why do I care? They live. This is a cult because they live by rules, but there's no reason behind the rules. I don't mind. More, like you said, we know more about the Jedis. People wanted to become Jedis. I can't imagine anyone wanting to become a Mandalorian at this point, because what does it mean? Like the purple guy here, he's a little bit overweight, and he walks like he's overweight. And I'm like, these are the heroes. And then, again, not to rehash what you said, but Grogu, cute, but why? Where are we going with this guy? And so, I would agree with you. To sum up this entire series, I want a sense of knowing where this series is going and what it's doing. The first 2 episodes was the Mando wanting to become, join his buddies again, which I hadn't seen. Took off his helmet, whatever. And he goes to Mandalore, and he bathes in the waters. And in episode 3, it's done. And it's like, okay, we couldn't have stretched that out a bit. We couldn't have made that more interesting. And then the other thing is, so he bathes in the waters of Mandalore. Their world is not as cursed as they thought it was, and yet they forgot all about it. It's like, so you don't want to go back? You just kind of want to stay here on this desert planet and hunt dragons. So again, I just wish I had a sense of where this show is going, other than setting up the sequels.
It literally seems like a video game task after task after task. And then additionally, it feels also like I don't know what the culture of the Mandalores are. They have a lost culture. All you see is them hanging out on the beach in this hot armor where they can't take their masks off, being attacked by, I don't know, sea creatures and sky creatures. So they're just there to be picked off by creatures. What is their culture? Do they have homes? And then suddenly we see someone, we see that woman who's the main Mandalore. She's pounding out slabs of metal.
Yeah.
And so you don't get any sense of what the culture is.
I mean, that was more interesting because it was the idea of, the community gathering together its resources to help another Mandalorian. But okay, but outside of that, what?
By the way, someone has leaked to me something. I might get in trouble for showing this, a little preview of the next episode. I'm gonna show it later. For those of you, there's over 800 people watching. Please smash that like button so our videos get recommended, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. But stick around, because very shortly I have to show you this thing that came in. I was checking my email, and I need to show you this. I don't care if it gets me in trouble, but somebody leaked me something interesting. But look, you're echoing a lot of how I felt about the show, and it just sort of goes to show that, like, to me, Kenobi was kind of the last thing, right? Like, I didn't care about Boba Fett. I watched a couple episodes of it. I watched the episode with Luke, but I don't know. Are all the shows just Star Wars shows? There's not like something that is a real, like, let's tell a Boba Fett story. We'll tell it in 3 episodes. I feel like there's an executive that just says we need X number of episodes, and you have to make it for X amount of money. Yeah. And then it all becomes about the fluff of what people think makes Star Wars popular, which is laser swords,
right?
And
you talk about all the time. It's they're focusing on the narrative versus the subtext. We should get a sense of why Mandalorians exist, why they wear the helmets, the armor, and what the hell they do. We had Boba Fett, we had Mando as bounty hunters. Well, how did they become bounty hunters? And is that what Mandalorians do? They lost their planet. Their planet is cursed. Okay, well, what happened there?
Well, here's my gauge of, like, when Marvel was good, and it was good. Marvel had a good run. And when Star Wars, old Star Wars, that's good. Here's how you know it's good. And I'm going to ask all of you, use this test. If you really want to know if something is engaging, or maybe like, why am I not engaged? Some of the best scenes in Marvel movies involved no special effects. Basically involved people in a room sitting, talking to each other. If you're engaged in that drama, whether it's a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, some of the best scenes, the scenes you're most engaged in, the scenes that have quotable lines, the scenes that are so compelling, you're just riveted, is not necessarily the action scenes or the scenes with special effects. I'll give you some examples. The Avengers sitting around the headquarters, Steve Rogers kind of moves Thor's hammer. It's just people talking. Or Tony Stark having returned from space with his withered body while they've just gotten their ass kicked by Thanos, and the Avengers are arguing amongst each other. It's a riveting scene. There are consequences. The people in those scenes take what they're doing very seriously. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker talking to didn't know was his father, who reveals a piece of information that changes everything. This is after they've had a big lightsaber duel. Yeah. Great lightsaber duel, by the way. It's awesome. Action tells a story. But the thing that everyone remembers about that is that exchange between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Like, that scene is just, it's baked into our memories. So just look at these shows. If you can find drama scenes, and if the drama scenes hold up, that's a show worth continuing watching.
Well, take a look at Empire Strikes Back. Earlier. You had Han Solo, Princess Leia trying to escape the Empire off of the asteroid field, but then they would always cut back to Luke and Yoda, and there's where you get the more full discussion of what the Force is and how the Force works. And so you get that kind of, this is why people wanted to become Jedis. And again, why do people want to become Mandalorians now? Who cares? But like I said, they're focusing solely. Obi-Wan was the same way, focused solely on narrative, never really talked about the Force. You only saw it happen.
Now people using it. Let's go back to Kenobi for a second, okay? Can you even remember did any of those scenes have drama? Do you remember the scene where Reva is interrogating Princess Leia? Did you feel any fear, stakes, or anything?
No, it was amateur hour. Again, amateur hour.
Amateur hour.
Unseasoned writers who just write scenes, get from point A to point B without putting any heart, any emotion, any kind of lore into these stories. This is something that's been brewing in my mind a lot lately. But the current generation of writers have no idea what it is, no idea how to tell stories other than action.
And the thing is this, I was like anticipating, like, oh my God, this was my friend. This Obi-Wan, this is my friend.
Yeah.
He's now a husk, a shell of what he used to be. He's now encased in this, he's half man, half machine. What is their dialogue in those scenes? It was ridiculous. It was cheesy. It was out of a video game. That had so much potential. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader should never have fought.
Mm-hmm.
What he should have done is they should have had a confrontation where Vader says, if you leave this planet, I will destroy you. He should have learned that he had a son, that there were like, that his children lived. He should have, there could have been so much drama in just scenes where Obi-Wan and Darth Vader were talking, and they missed it. They did amateur action and thought that was going to satisfy the audience. This stuff now is for kids with low expectations, and it's so disheartening. And I have what some might think is going to be a shocking announcement. In just over a month, this show, Hollywood on the Rocks, will be canceled to make room for a new show called Critics Court: Star Wars on Trial. The show is going to start the first week of May. It is going to replace Hollywood on the Rocks for a little over a month. And we are going to put Lucasfilm on trial for the murder of the Star Wars franchise. We will be bringing on guests guests for the prosecution, guests for the defense. I'll be the judge. You, the viewers, will be the jury. And it starts the first week of May, whatever the first Wednesday of May. That's when the show begins. I don't have a calendar in front of me. And we will, on Wednesdays, be doing Critics Court: Star Wars on Trial. And we are going to go through 9 charges, which, God, it was last summer, Alan and I, and with your help, put together a list of 9 charges against Lucasfilm. We're going to adjust those, and we're going to be putting on a trial in courtroom fashion, and you will decide. You will decide. So that starts in May.
May 3rd. May 3rd.
Yeah, May 3rd is when it starts. So May the 4th be with you, Eve, is when Critics Court begins. So there you go. We have over 900 people watching right now.
Yay.
Let's take a look at this preview. This thing. Let's take a look at this piece of video to just see the direction that the Mandalorian is going in. Everyone, I hope the stream doesn't get shut down for this, but I'm just going to show it.
Introducing the Mandalorian. New at Disney Sparkle.
Sir, it is time to leave.
Okay, wait, what did you call me? I'm not a sir, I'm a man.
Did not know, but we must leave.
No, you triggered me, I'm going home.
Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still.
All right.
Oh my God.
I think I got bamboozled there. Well, I hope you found that entertaining. But I guess this begs the question, is Star Wars dead? Is Star Wars dead? Let's go. I mean, I'm asking you that. Here's the thing. I don't even think about like buying anything new of Star Wars. If there's anything that even like remotely is like, oh, that would be cool. It's something used that was made a long time ago.
Here's how I feel. Star Wars is that ex-girlfriend I just don't care about anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we were in love once, and then things changed, and it's time to move on to the next one.
All right. Well, I feel like my level of interest, it was really because I had hope for Kenobi. The Kenobi show was like, hey, there's hope here. There's hope here. You know, this could be really cool if it's written like they didn't lean into the drama. They leaned into what ended up being a children's show.
Yeah.
And I say that because the young girl who played, not her fault, who played, you know, Princess Leia, it just was dumb. It was dumb. And also doesn't make any sense when you consider that they met, that she sent off a message to him.
Yeah.
It doesn't mention, feels nothing. Basically, Luke Skywalker, who like, you taught me about the Force a couple hours ago, and now you're gone, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That Kenobi series had so much potential, and it was all incredibly squandered.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it before it came out. It was like, this is the show that if this franchise is to survive, it needs to be that they need to hit out of the ballpark with that one, and they didn't. And weirdly, Andor is the best thing that Star Wars has put out so far.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that 100%. I don't know.
Well, something was better than Andor.
Well, it was different. It was Les Miserables. That's what it was pointed out.
Right, but it was fundamentally a better produced show than anything that's come out. I mean, even, just the fact that the Mandalorian season 3 takes place mostly on the desert, and then on these lame sets of Coruscant. I'm just so unimpressed compared to Andor. I was impressed with the sets. I was impressed with the production design, the way they use TIE fighters, and it is a fundamentally better show than anything that's come out of Disney Plus, and Star Wars for that matter, since Disney Plus began.
Well, I'll just say that I'm going to repeat it. This might be the last time I'm going to mention it, but the thing that also checked me out of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which should be baseline, attention to detail. Attention to detail matters. There's a sequence where Obi-Wan Kenobi is on a shuttle. He's on a ship, and they use the cheapest looking chairs that someone got from IKEA. If you're on a spaceship, your chairs are battened down. Why? Because you're on a spaceship. They're not like cheap chairs that you would see in the IKEA cafeteria with those delicious Swedish meatballs. Here's I'm entering this into evidence. Check this out. See how the chair moves like it's some cheap IKEA chair? I know. Am I the only one that was upset by those little details? But see, that's what made Star Wars feel so real and so lived in from the mind of George Lucas, is everything had to feel real. Even if you didn't understand what a piece of equipment that was in the corner, you didn't understand what it did. In George Lucas's head, he understood. You know those like gonk droids? It was, okay, gonk droids. There's these droids that just walk around gonk, gonk, gonk. They have a purpose. The purpose is their batteries. They're basically, if you need battery power, a gonk droid walks up, you plug in, and you can recharge your Galaxy iPhone or whatever. And I find that George Lucas is making everything so practical and so real world that everything has a meaning and a purpose, even if it's not used, was amazing. Here's a small detail from the original Star Wars that I thought was amazing. That robots were made to be practical and anthropomorphized. Okay. So you have you've got the droids like R2-D2, right? The astromech droids, which are sort of like, the galactic version of a Swiss Army knife. It does all sorts of different things. Then you've got the protocol droid, which are more meant to deal with humans, right? And so they mimic a human's look, and they can speak all these languages. There's a protocol style droid that's on the Jawa Sandcrawler that is based on an alien race. They made this protocol droid. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. But what a detail that it's such a vast galaxy that a different alien race is like, well, we're just going to make a head of a robot that kind of, is how we see ourselves. That's the level of detail. That's the depth that George Lucas thought about this. And what's missing from Star Wars is George Lucas.
Mhm.
That's what's missing.
A singular vision.
His
for this entire
imagination,
series.
his vision, that is what's missing from Star Wars. That's why it's not working. And with
I mean,
all
Star
due
Wars now, in terms of a vision, it's all done by committee. It's Kathleen Kennedy and whoever, John Favreau, Dave Filoni, and my guess is they don't talk to each other. They don't get along, and they can't. You know, it's like what. You know, the simple question should be, what is the direction of the Star Wars universe at this point in time? And what, and all the series and everything should be pointing to that direction. Unfortunately, this series is pointing to the sequels, and that's, you know, that's the waste right there.
Right. All right. Well, Alan and I have ranted enough.
Yeah.
Or I should just say I've ranted enough. Now it's time to hear what you think. Let's go to your comments and questions. We'll continue the conversation. Wow, we have a lot of comments. Let's go to the super chats first. Buford T. Justice for 1999 says Star Wars is dead. It is never coming back as long as Alan's favorite company, Disney, still owns it. Alan, I blame you, Alan. Robert,
yeah, I've given them so much money that they could have bought it. And yeah.
Robert Kearney for $9.99 sends in a super sticker, and we thank you for that. Radio Man 1017 for $5 says, tired of This Is the Way, covering for bad writing. I saw a mythosaur. This is the way. What? That was the armorer's response? Terrible writing. What's weird is how often they say this is the way in the show. It's like they used to really save. If you said, may the force be with you, it was like once or twice, you know, in a movie. May the force be with. That's it. That's
and it's a catchier phrase than this is the way.
Not a joke. It was like 8 times in the show because you have to repeat it back. It's. I just think that the lore of the Mandalorians doesn't make sense to me because it doesn't connect to anything philosophical that I might even apply to my real. Am I going to wear a helmet forever? That's a ridiculous notion.
Yeah. At my home, the saying is throw that away.
Dino's reviews for 199 pounds says the reason is that Pedro doesn't have to show up. Yeah, he doesn't have to show up.
And now Katie Sackhoff doesn't have to show up.
Eric K. Yes, less screen time for Jar Jar, Chris. Seriously, if you cut down Jar Jar's screen time, he's not that bad. You need comic relief in a movie where the stakes are high and things are dour and there's a dark side. You need that mix. And if you cut the screen time of Jar Jar, I'm telling you, the character works.
I mean, if you really think about it, the Phantom Menace skewed young. You know, you had young Anakin. You had, Jar Jar was there for the kids. Anakin hung out with his kid friends. He fell in love with a teenager. But the pod race scene, I think, is the thing that appeals to kids the most. But in spite of all that, he still made the story somewhat palatable for adults. And
well,
grew over time as well.
The problem with that scene, the pod race scene, which arguably very action-packed scene, nothing matters. We know that Anakin isn't going to die because he's going to be in 2 more movies and he has to become Darth Vader. So there are no stakes whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, if
I will throw out that scene, you had never seen it before. And that
doesn't matter.
I think it does in that context, in the sense of George Lucas at the time of making the prequels was doing groundbreaking work in terms of filmmaking, computerized filmmaking. And, again, this is stuff we had never seen before. And I think we give it a pass. Today, that stuff's passé. We've seen it over and over and over again. Let
me contrast it with this. Okay. There's a really good book called The Secret History of Star Wars. Get the audio book because the guy does the voices of like Irving Kershner in it. It's great. Grab the audiobook of The Secret History of Star Wars. You will learn so much. George Lucas knew when he was laying out the outline of the events of what was going to happen in The Empire Strikes Back. He knew that the audience wouldn't believe that Darth Vader would kill Luke Skywalker. He knew that the audience wouldn't believe that the main protagonist of Star Wars could die. So Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker are having a lightsaber duel. You're not going to kill the main character. However, that's not what that lightsaber duel is about. The lightsaber duel between Darth and Luke the first time in Empire is not about Darth defeating Luke because he could defeat him if he wanted to. It was about whether he could turn Luke to the dark side, which George believed he could convince the audience might happen because of his connection to his what came to be his father. And there were the stakes. And because the pod race didn't have those kinds of stakes, the events didn't matter. It needed to be more clever. Maybe Anakin has a brother, the brother gets killed, Anakin's responsible, he feels bad about it, he could have used the Force, but didn't use. There's so many different dramatic reasons for other things to happen. You can sit here.
I will slightly disagree that the entire pod race sequence was established that Anakin was a purveyor of the Force and that no one believed in him except Qui-Gon. Okay, stakes kind of low there, but that's why that scene exists. And we can debate as to whether it went on too long, but I enjoyed it. I really did.
Well,
I really did love that pod race scene.
Pour one out for Watto.
Yeah.
Watto
was such a big character.
Watto is going to come back, I predict, in The Mandalorian. Watto's coming back. Republic credits are no good around here. I need something more real.
Well, you're speaking to the
Watto.
creativity. You're speaking to the creativity of Lucas to have created. I mean, Watto is a standout character, and he's such a minor supporting character too.
Sanjuro Shinjitsu has just become a YouTube member. Become a member. We do giveaways. I've got a giveaway coming up that might be one of our best giveaways ever. The White Mat Studio for $9.99. Absolutely love your channel and honest reviews. You guys represent us sane customers of film and TV. Well, thank you for that, White Mat Studio. Appreciate it for that. Oh, John Kokoza. Kokoza. Wait, I might be seeing you soon. John for 5 says the chickens are coming home to roost for woke Hollywood. Kamran Pasha is reporting the firings are starting in HR departments where woke notes come from. Ooh, I like that. I just think that there's a lot of people whose jobs in Hollywood aren't about even making film or television. Do you know what I mean? They're just like new jobs we just created out of maybe some guilt that those jobs are unnecessary.
Yeah. It's like when the layoffs happened at Twitter, it wasn't the programmers who got fired.
No, we need them. Thank you, John, for that. Adam Iglesias for 5. Star Wars will always be alive in my heart. I love the original 6 movies, video games, and merch. Anything new, I could care less about. It's dead. Adam, kind of with you there, Adam. I do look, I've got behind me, you can kind of see this is a Millennium Falcon backpack. I got that. I forget which Star Wars celebration I got that. It was years ago. It's an R2-D2 cooler I got from the Star Wars fan club, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I beg to differ. Hold on.
Wait.
Because how cool is that? Come on, folks. How cool is that? I mean, you can't... Okay, you can find this on the shelves. but look at that. That's so awesome. Well, look at that lightsaber design. You've never seen that before.
I am going to wait until there's an orange sticker on that. And then I'm going to buy one and mail it to Ryan Cannell. All right. Warren Hughes for 10 says the Order 66 scene felt like a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith and was the only thing I could appreciate. This show and the whole Star Wars brand is dead. Episode 6 is the true ending of Star Wars. Well, let me actually recommend a documentary. It's called The Prequels Strike Back. And I'm not just recommending this documentary because I'm in the documentary, but it's made by a young filmmaker from Texas who loved the Star Wars prequels. He was a kid, loved the Star Wars prequels, grew up, and then got access to the internet and realized everyone hated the prequels, and he wondered why. So he went on this journey and made a documentary that's a tribute to the Star Wars prequels. I'm in the doc, which I recommend that you, so look it up, The Prequels Strike Back. Really interesting thing. They talked to this guy about the music. You know, the Emperor's throne room scene. Da-na-na, da-na-na,
Mhm.
You know, you can
Yeah.
hear it in your head. Don't listen to me. I can't even hum it right. But the celebration scene on Naboo is the reverse of those notes. It's da 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 da. I can't even do it, folks. My apologies for my horrible trying to sing those. But it's in, excuse me, it's in a different key. So it's like, so you've got it. It's the echo, right? It's there's a thing called circle theory that's explained incredibly well in this documentary, and a strong recommendation. Find that doc, the prequel Strike Back. But Warren Hughes, thank you so much for your super chat. Dream Profit for $4.99 says Mando was made to be budget friendly with a masked main character who is mostly ADR. That's additional dialogue recording, but Bo-Katan wearing her helmet makes it too obvious, feels cheap. Thank you for that. Robot Dues for $4.99. Disney took a money printing franchise and turned it into direct to video. Now it only serves to sell Dave Filoni's OCs. There you go. Doug Bernard for $9.99. Mando lore in CW and Rebels. Star Wars is now an anthology world, not just a trilogy. Ahsoka might plant seeds of destroying new trilogy. Cartoons are better than you think. You are missing out on the good stuff. Doug, I've had a lot of people say that to me. And at some point, when I get a break, I may go and watch some of those shows, Clone Wars and Rebels.
If there weren't so many, I would try to do that.
It's the animation style. I actually preferred the Gendy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, that animation style I really loved. And I just don't really like that sort of CG weird. It looks like a George Pal puppetoon.
Well, I mean, I think it's designed that way for speed, to be able to push out as many episodes as it did.
And Tech Liz became a YouTube member. Well, thank you for that. Oh, all members get access to our Discord. So, Alan, make sure we have a fresh
I'll need to update
link.
that today.
We'll have a fresh link. We'll post it in members only. Join our Discord. You can continue the conversation. Many of the people in the chat, after a stream is over, they just go to Discord and keep talking. And also, you'll see lots of fun memes of Alan in there. It's very, very popular. Thank you, Tech Liz. Aiden Wilson for £4.99 says, did you watch Dooku's arc in Tales of the Jedi? Decent Star Wars that elevated his character and had actual Star Wars music. I have not seen that.
Yeah, I need to see it. I've heard good things about it.
I've heard good and mixed.
Yeah,
so
but I believe it's Dooku and Ahsoka.
Yeah. John Thomas for 10. I despise the pod race almost as much as I despise Jar Jar. It was a 1-to-1 ripoff of Ben-Hur, except no one gets hurt, dies. Gratuitous, no stakes. Episode 1 is the weakest of the three.
Episode 2 is the weakest of the three.
Okay. No. Episode 1, I love that most of it is practical and most of it is shot on real sets. That's what I love about episode 1. I think episode 1's design is the best. Episode 2, there are parts I like. When it gets to the Coliseum, where you see that moment, because I remember just being like, that moment, I was there. Okay, I saw all those movies in a theater first day. This is when you had to wait in line for a movie. Remember all the documentaries about waiting in line for Star Wars? Okay, I was there. I waited in line for Star Wars. Okay, episode 2, when there's that moment, when you see all the, murderous droids, and then they pan over and all these Jedi with lightsabers drawn are coming towards them, the theater erupted in applause. You needed to do that in the first movie, not at the third act of the second movie. The problem is the story really didn't get going until the third act of the second movie. But I'll tell you this, the prequels have aged better. Go back and watch the prequels now. They have aged better than the sequels will ever age. The problem with the sequels are they are rooted in the time in which they were made. And because of that, they are going to age poorly. They're going to feel dated. Other than maybe some effect shots in the original Star Wars doesn't feel dated because of the story. The story resonates to today. And I would argue that there are scenes let's go by my test, right? What is the test? The test is, are there dramatic scenes in the story that just leave you riveted? There are scenes when Palpatine / Darth Sidious reveals himself to Anakin. It's just two people talking, and it's frightening as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are scenes in the prequels that I think are very good. I think that George Lucas needed a co-writer, because if you know anything about the writing of the original Star Wars, he had ghostwriters and other people helping him.
Well, he didn't even write Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi.
Well, but he did the outline. He came up with like
what he had the singular vision.
But he was in his best place, which is as the executive producer, kind of pulling the strings creatively. That's why Empire Strikes Back stands to today as the best film, because it was George Lucas in the best sort of position, you know. And also it was when people could push back against George a little bit. There was a little push and pull. Gary Kurtz was a part of it. You know, Marshall Lucas was there. Han Solo, the original line before he's put into carbonite is, I love you too. That was the original line as scripted in the original script for The Empire Strikes Back. Harrison Ford said that's stupid. Han Solo would never say that. They stopped shooting for half a day. Do you know how much money that costs? And they went, and it was like Irvin Kershner, Gary Kurtz, and Harrison Ford in a room going, well, what do we have him say? And it's that famous exchange. I love you. I know. There's no special effects. It's just people talking in a room. Okay. It's a carbon freezing chamber. It's a little bit more than a room, but some of the best moments that you remember them are just moments where people are talking. If you don't have that in a movie, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
I love you. I know. It's on
again. That's when you get amateur hour, which is what we're getting now. But let me tell you why episode 2 is the worst. It's that love story. It's that goddamn love story.
Yes.
It is groan worthy. You talk about George Lucas not having someone to push back on the writing. George Lucas, when he wrote Attack of the Clones, the love story, probably had not been on a date for over 20 years. And he forgot how to fall in love. And that translated itself to this horrendous love story between Anakin and Padme. And to me, Attack of the Clones, foregoing the sequels, is the worst of the 6 Star Wars movies, to the point where I would give it a bad review.
And there are parts of it that are amazing. You know, that sort of chase scene through Coruscant, I thought was great at the beginning. I'm going to defend parts of the movie.
Hayden Christensen's acting in that, and I believe this is George Lucas's fault, is horrendous. The dialogue is stilted. It is hard to watch that performance. And I've seen Hayden Christensen in other things, and he's so much of a better actor than he was in that first in episode 2. Sorry. Episode 2 is a hard watch for me.
Look, I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying it also has highlights.
Yes,
it has
the Yoda Dooku lightsaber fight was great.
Come on, man! Like, I remember being like, "What is going to happen in the third act?" We knew where it was going. It was not going to be pretty. It was going to have a dark ending, very operatic, very tragic. It's a tragedy, you know. And God, you know. Anyways, let's go back to. I'm sorry.
We got a lot of comments.
We got a lot of comments, and I appreciate your patience, folks. There's 969 people watching. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, because you know what, our reviews are delicious.
Holy fucking shit! These reviews are delicious.
Okay, back to your back here. Dream Profit for $4.99. Sequels aren't being erased. Mando is setting up cloning Palpatine. Early First Order origins can't fix the sequels, but they can diminish the effects. I just wanted to see. Here's all I wanted. Here's all I wanted out of the Star Wars sequels, and this is why the trial, Critics Court, Star Wars on Trial, kicks off on Wednesday, May 3rd. Hollywood on the Rocks is going to go on hiatus. and be replaced. It will be replaced by Critics Court. It is a Film Threat special event. We're going to have some of your favorite YouTubers debating this question. It'll be near the end of the run for Mandalorian, and we're going to have this conversation. And you are going to decide the results of this trial. Put that on your calendar. Wednesday, May 3rd, Critics Court begins. It'll be in session. We've been working on graphics and videos for this for months. There is going to be nothing like it on YouTube. And I hope you tune in. But smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, slap that like button. Oh, wow. We're trying to get to 100,000 subs. So at some point, I hope we get there. Back to your comments.
Yeah.
But all I wanted to see out of the sequels was Han, Luke, and Leia reunited. Give us one last adventure. I know that Harrison, Carrie, and Mark at the time were older. There's no reason. Look at how old the cast of Star Trek was when they were making those movies. And they're fun. They're great. Star Trek 6 is awesome. Go back and watch those original Star Trek movies. They're ones I like better than others, okay?
Yeah,
But
the even ones. The
even numbered ones. That's sort of an unspoken rule. But we're going to talk about Star Trek. I don't know.
Hey, get to those comments, by the way.
I'm getting to the comments, Alan. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you for that, Dream Prophet. David Nelson for $4.99. Would you ever consider reviewing any of the many fan-made Star Wars videos from YouTube? Sure. If we have time. We actually have, if you go to filmthreat.com, just look up Star Wars. Can you do it right now and share screen? We've already reviewed on the website. Alan, could you share screen with that? Go to filmthreat.com.
Yeah, I'm
look up the word Star Wars. Look it up. And you know how many pages it goes? It goes like, it goes for many pages and pages. But yes, in fact, I happen to know Kevin Rubio, who did Troops. I know a lot of the people that have made the fan-made Star Wars films, and they're great. I was there. I was in the room at San Diego Comic-Con when Kevin Rubio played Troops, and the crowd erupted in applause, and then you could hear someone yell, "Show it again! Show it again!" And then he did, and it proved that. And look, many of the people that work on current Star Wars and a lot of the genre stuff, they are fans. Did you find it, Alan?
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm pulling up the right thing here.
Kritzfer for $4.99 says Disney is unable to make anything after Return of the Jedi. All roads lead to Rey and empty characters, so Disney needs to live on in nostalgia. So yeah, look, here's the movie 5/25/77. But did you so Alan just looked up the keyword Star Wars, and there's a lot of
we actually
content.
tagged it, so
now just look up Star Wars. It's all over. Anyways, just go to filmthreat.com there. Billy D. Shilliams for $1.99. The Mandalorian is awful. Grogu ruined the show. Wolfsbane for $4.99. If you could make a Star Wars movie series, what would it be? I would make an animated adaptation of the Thrawn trilogy in the TIE Fighter fan film style. Can I tell you exactly what I would make? I would make The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. I would explain what the Wills are. Wills. The Adventures of Luke Skywalker from the Journal of the Wills. Who are the Wills? There are theories that the race that Yoda is and Grogu are the Wills. They have documented the history of the Star Wars galaxy. And they are from the Journal of the Wills, The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, the Wills, though it's never, that was a rumor. That was a rumor. But I would just do a Luke Skywalker show and show him being this beacon of optimism in a galaxy of treachery and scandal and evil. But he's this beacon of optimism. He is, and this is why they have not gotten Star Wars right. The neutering of Luke Skywalker. He is the Superman of the Star Wars universe. That's who Luke Skywalker is. He is the Superman of the Star Wars universe. When you disrespect your Superman, Look what happens. He's a beacon of optimism. He's a character to look up to. He is kind. He is kind to his protocol droid. Even, and I guarantee, here's what's going to happen at some point. People are going to say, cancel C-3PO. Go back and watch the original Star Wars. Do you know how many times C-3PO physically assaults and beats R2-D2 and calls him names? That's droid on droid abuse. It is not talked about enough. It's not droid on droid abuse is not talked about enough. No, seriously, go back. And it's like he's hitting him. He calls him names. And like there's a weird abusive relationship between C-3PO and R2-D2. I don't know how that's in his programming. But there you go. But yeah, I would do a Luke Skywalker show. Cancel C-3PO. Absolutely. Droid on droid violence has to stop. It just has to.
Yeah, he's literally naked through the entire first episode, first movie.
Exactly. Harry Anders for 50. Is it Swedish krona? I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you for that. Long live Alan and Chris and Film Threat. Nothing beats Empire Strikes Back on VHS before George started inserting CGI stuff into the originals. I have one. I have a Empire Strikes Back VHS. Got a little box set. It was the last time Star Wars was ever released. Not really. Anyways, thank you for that. Bass player 2011, 5 for 20, and who's a member. No. Do not watch Clone Wars and don't fall for the it gets better excuse. It doesn't. And in regards to the Mando lore, if you know the history of the Darksaber, you know 80 to 90% of the Mando lore.
Yeah. And 80 to 90% of the people don't know the lore, the history of the Darksaber.
I just think that it's like, just give me the philosophy. This is the way. This is the way. I got a response for you. This is the way. Why? Why is this the way? Why is this the way?
Well, yeah. Again, it's a religion full of rules, but no guiding force behind those rules.
I'm gonna tweet that out. Why is this the way? I'm gonna send that out later.
Or get out of my way.
I just don't get.
It's not a catchy thing.
Philosophically, I get something out of the Jedi. You know, it's built in like it's sort of a an amalgam of many things that connect. Many differing religions have similar philosophies. Christianity is woven in there when it comes to forgiveness. The ending of Return of the Jedi is very, very Christian. It's having redemption before you pass on to another realm.
Yeah. Well, it's that, that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. I mean, that's a principle that resonates with even people today.
Yeah. B Sparks 917 for $9.99 says, you and Alan's discussion about the prequels is proper, need debate and discourse. The fact we are so far gone from that and loving Star Wars is a travesty. Thanks for all you guys do. Well, thank you. Look, I think when we originally saw the prequels, I think a lot of us were blindsided by how different it was. And it wasn't what we had built in our minds after playing with, I played with Star Wars figures. Nobody collected Star Wars figures. When I was a little kid, and I bought the early bird kit, which was basically a coupon that you got on Christmas that you might get some Star Wars figures in 6 months in the mail. I couldn't believe it was the greatest thing ever. I didn't care. They slapped a Star Wars sticker on anything at that point because it was so huge. It was a toy phenomenon. Disney doesn't understand that. But we played with them. We didn't collect them. They got dirty. I still have a die-cast metal Millennium Falcon from when I was a kid, and I never cleaned it. It stayed in the rain. It was out in my sandbox. It was just like it's covered in dirt. It's covered in dirt.
Yeah, this hurts because I did own the first set of Star Wars toys, the entire set, including the mail-in Boba Fett. I also owned the full set of the Star Wars bubblegum cards. And man. But I played with those. I played with them. You were supposed to play with toys, especially when you're 10 years old watching these movies.
Lord Thaw says, where's my invite for Critics Court? Don't worry. At the end of April, we're going to be reaching out to people to be guests. And for planning, we're going to have a court sketch artist. We've got a couple people that will be the court sketch artist that will be drawing things on a live stream while we're going along, while we're doing our case.
By the way, you mean the middle of April and not the end of April?
No, the end of April. I'm just going to reach out to people. Say, you ready? Let's go. Don't worry about it, Alan.
Yeah, I just say you should.
I'll make that your job.
Give people better heads up. I'm just saying.
Your job. Aaron Taylor says, happy 92nd birthday to the captain, the original captain, William Shatner, James T. Kirk. Happy birthday, sir. There is a great video on the South by Southwest YouTube channel and a 1-hour interview with William Shatner done by Tim League of the Alamo Drafthouse and Drafthouse Films. That is a great interview. It was done several days ago. Watch that interview. Just look up SXSW Shatner interview. This guy, amazing stories that I had never heard. 92nd years.
And don't forget his
2 years.
And don't forget his movie. You Can Call Me Bill.
Yeah, you could wait. Did you write a review of it for the website yet?
Not yet. I'm working on that now.
Fantastic.
But Legion M comes out from Legion M.
Awesome. That'll be out soon, I hope. David Nelson for $1.99. So Rey and Kylo should have become Sith Lords. No, they should have done there's a video that I did after episode 8 came out. People, look, fandom was divided. I hated Force Awakens. I saw hope in episode 8. I know people hate The Last Jedi. I thought the reason Luke is the way he is because it's built. He fell to rise again, to become the Luke Skywalker we remember. That didn't happen. So there's a theory video I did on the YouTube, on the Film Threat YouTube channel. Just look up franchise forecast. Franchise forecast. Watch that video, and that's my theory of what was going to happen in episode 9. Now, I was proven wrong, but I think my theory was, I put out this video after Solo came out. And along with a buddy of mine, we both kind of had these theories about what was going to happen. We kind of combined our theories and then made a video. Darth Racer 777 for 5 says, yes, the adventures of Luke and Mara rebuilding the Jedi Order. Mara Jade would have been great.
Would have been great.
But now on, I guess, Wikipedia, Luke Skywalker has pronouns. It's stupid. It's stupid. I can't stand it. Elliot Cecil for $9.99. I think I'm going to wait till the rest of Mando comes out to binge it. I just don't have the urge anymore to watch as they come out, which is how I feel about the MCU as well. Don't blame you. Dream Profit for $1.99. Think Indy 5 is DOA. $295 million budget. Endless reshoots. David Nelson for $1.99. And Finn should be trained by Luke. I wonder if we could just watch. Can we watch a video from another? We could just watch our video. It's on our channel. Well, maybe we'll do that only if the chat wants it. We're not going to get to, and we have a guest coming on in like 20 minutes.
I know. We still haven't talked about Picard. I mean,
we'll talk about it briefly.
Yeah.
Elliot Cecil for $4.99. The D+ shows just aren't rewatchable. Both Star Wars and MCU. I miss rewatching both, but now it just feels like watching the same thing. John Kokoza for $5. I edited together all the episodes of Tales of Jedi so it flows like a film. We'll email you the Dropbox link, Chris. Hey, John, thank you for that. That's awesome. That is great. I love it. Mike MC Wong says Hayden Christensen was pretty good in Shattered Glass and okay in Life as a House. Yeah. I agree.
Life as a House is a great movie.
Attack of the Clones is garbage, but still somehow better than any of the Disney Star Wars stuff, says Airsoft 123. I agree. Jason Webster, yes, George Lucas is the Walt Disney of his era, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible in filmmaking, creating ILM for visual effects and THX for improved sound technology. Wolf Spain for $4.99. If okay, we already had that one. I'm sorry for that. We're gonna get through your comments quick, but all twisted up. What are the WonderCon plans? Who's going to be there from Film Threat? I am. So is Alan. We have a panel. Future Indies You Must See. The panel is at 7 p.m. this Friday at WonderCon, and afterwards we're going to one of the hotel bars for drinks. Join me. I don't know what room it's in. I'll tweet it out.
Yeah, it's not that big a place, though.
Yeah, you can. So Alan and I will be there. Dante will be there. Some other people that you are familiar with. So
most likely, it'll either be the Hilton or the Marriott we go to afterwards.
Riva lol says Sailor Mercury. No, says Marco CC7.
This is about my toy.
65. Every show should have the base quality of Andor. It was like movie quality for a TV show. Brian, amateur action, amateur cinematography, amateur story, etc. Luke conversating with Vader in order to turn him back to the light in Return of the Jedi is another great example. Yeah, it's just two people talking.
Yep.
That's the key. If two people talking doesn't engage you, it's not worthwhile. So, yeah, John Thomas for 10. Wow, that's a serious hot take. Jar Jar is annoying AF. Nothing can save the character. The Mandos should have embraced Spartan culture, but Disney can't understand warriors. Yeah, I hear you. Thank you, John Thomas, for that one. Beerosaurus Rex. In the first season of Mando, it was kind of implied his sect cult would just take orphans from their battles to replenish their membership ranks, but I guess nothing came of that. And Matt Gall became a member. Thank you for that, Matt. Appreciate that. Pascal isn't even on the set. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of says something about that character.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Jar Jar is greater than Rey Palpatine, says Rodney McKay. So there you go.
Wasted potential.
The whole thing is the Star Wars sequel trilogy is complete wasted potential. Joe Dudna, who's a member, thank you, Joe. Star Wars is definitely on life support for me. I used to have a lot of faith in Dave Filoni to helm Star Wars after his work on Clone Wars and interviews he gave, but I'm now in a crisis of faith for the future. So there you go. Graham Robbins says, what's sad is Mando had a multi-episode arc about taking a bath, and it was awful. Yet the Orville did a single episode about Bortos taking a leak, and it was fantastic. Writing makes all the difference. Yeah, what is it? Lajolia? What? Someone tell me what it was.
What are you talking about?
The episode of the Orville. There's an episode, this character, Bortos, he's sort of like their version of Worf. And he basically takes a leak like every 10 years or something. And he has to go to this place and actually urinate. Lajoja or something. I forget what it was. But it was
Jaloja.
Jaloja, that's what it was. Jaloja. And it was a really good episode of the Orville. Yeah, Graham, very good point. Pyrene Dream says, I'm waiting for the reveal of Lord Helmet. Episode 1 gets a lot of unwarranted hate. It had Duel of the Fates, Darth Maul, pod racing. Yeah, there's some dumb shit, but it's not that bad, says Insomatic 101.
Here's the thing about episode 1. It was to bring a new generation of children into Star Wars. You know, the 10-year-olds that we were when we saw it, or however old you were. That's what episode 1 is. And then it becomes more adult as the years go by.
That was the excuse, but how about the original?
No,
Star Wars?
It's clear. Jar Jar, the pod race, young Anakin. It's for kids. It's absolutely for kids.
I would argue the original Star Wars was for kids because that's what George Lucas said back in the 70s. He said that children lacked fairy tales. They didn't have fairy tales, and he wanted to create a modern fairy tale, a modern fable for kids. That's what his intention was. Sassy77 says, I'm not trying to defend the show, but Ahsoka has said he suppressed his memories and powers to hide Luke, said he was helping Grogu remember what he always knows. All right, well, I'm sure that's in a line of dialogue, but it's not always there. Aaron Taylor says, the big problem with Jar Jar is George Lucas. The man had no creatives pushing back. No Marsha Lucas, no Brian De Palma. No Gary Kurtz, I would argue. Yeah, there were no creatives. On episode 1, it was just like George Lucas's id unleashed. And, we got what we got. But still, the ideas in the prequel trilogy are so much better than anything from the sequel trilogy. With basically Kylo Ren as like a Darth Vader super fan.
Yeah. Well, let's not also forget that this was an indie film. Lucas paid for everything himself. And so he's on the hook. He's accountable for everything he did. And you don't see that nowadays. And I think that's partly why it was better than what people think.
Bimo Better says, totally agree with Alan. Kyle Loveless says, give Grogu a mech and a love of violence, and I'm in. All right, that works. Matthew Hammond for 5. Have you seen a screener of Sisu yet? The trailer indicates it is by the John Wick producer. A man tries to make it through a group of German soldiers. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer. Go to Film Threat Trailers. We literally broke our channel up into 3 channels. So now there's Film Threat is the main channel with reviews and live streams. Film Threat Trailers is a new movie trailer every day. The Sisu trailer is on that channel. And then we just launched yesterday the Film Threat Interviews channel. It's just interviews with filmmakers. So there you go. Brock Samsonite, the planet wasn't cursed, Alan. That was the lie. That was a lie the children of the Watch told to Bo-Katan's clan because they were responsible for helping the Empire sack Mandalore. Well, there you go. Darth Maul, but spelled like M-A-L-L. Maybe that's the point of the season of Mando, the pointlessness of the Mandalorians without their homeworld. They're happy, still divided up against themselves, picked off and for hire by the galaxy. Baby gimmick Yoda is for normies, children, and women to mindlessly gawk at. There's no grand overarching story to baby gimmick Yoda. He's just there for the merch. Alan usually gives it a little soft nice before he hits it. All right, well, there you go. Lord Thoth, I am so in love with Katie Sackhoff. You and me both, man. I loved her as Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. She was great. She was great. Elliot Cecil says, a little bit off topic, but I'm curious about Peaky Blinders. Should I give it a watch? Everyone I know loves it. Everyone I know loves it. So there you go. There you go.
By the way, Lionsgate acquired Sisu, so I think that's the John Wick comment. Lionsgate.
Yeah, no, it's from the same studio.
Is it?
Yeah, it's from Lion. Well, it's one of the producers of John Wick, and then Lionsgate bought it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm okay. So I'm looking at bad info here. So the production studio comes from Finland, from Helsinki. So I'm just gonna say Lionsgate is gonna have a great year this year.
Okay, yeah. John Wick 4 comes out this Thursday. Get your tickets.
Yeah.
Alan and I will do a more extensive review on Friday. We will talk spoilers only for a portion because we need to talk about the ending. So you may want to dip out for 5 minutes and then come right back. But we will be doing that on Friday.
Because you and I have very different takes on the ending.
I have a very different take than you, and we will discuss it. A couple more comments here, and I want to hear what Alan thinks of Picard. Mike Linux says, all of these shows feel like a person trying to make entertainment for people of a different culture. They're so disconnected. Holy cow, Kyle Loveless for 50. You're a bro for reading fans from the chat, even when they don't pay. Have some extra support. Thank you, Kyle, for that. That's awesome. Yeah, we always, it's a conversation. So I love that. So thank you, Kyle, for that. That's awesome. The first episode was Amateur Hours. Amateur Hours, says Aaron Taylor, 4 bad guys shot. Next scene has 5 bodies. Small things lead to big things. So there you go.
Yeah, the whole thing is Amateur Hour. Yeah, anyone can make a Star Wars television show nowadays. Anyone can make a Star Wars movie. Yeah, because they showed that they've reached down to our level in terms of making making these series.
Well, Kyle, thank you about that. Let's pivot really, really quickly. We're just going to pivot. Let's talk about Picard season 3. Alan, I have seen the first 5 episodes.
I have as well.
If you have not seen them, Ensign Ro, played by Michelle Forbes. By the way, her sister was my neighbor in the early 90s when I lived off Melrose. I lived walking distance to Golden Apple Comics off Melrose. And Michelle Forbes' sister was my neighbor. And so I would talk to Michelle Forbes about Star Trek. She did not want to get typecast. And so she chose to leave. And she was amazing. She's the big part of episode 5. This is a movie. And we have seen, this is a movie about an unseen threat taking over the galaxy. It's a bottle show. And I mean that in a good way. It was made incredibly cheaply, but looks amazing. Some of the starships. I love the Titan. Commander Shaw, played by Todd Stashwick, is fantastic. I love everything about this show. They respect the characters, the respect for the characters. Worf in this show is fantastic. It's everything I loved about the old Star Trek. This may as well be a Star Trek miniseries movie. My understanding, I have not seen the final 5 episodes. There's a rumor that the last 2 episodes of Picard season 3 might be in theaters via a Fathom Events type of thing. I would love to see that. That's a rumor. If it's not a real rumor, I'm starting the rumor right now, because this is movie quality writing. And it also goes to show the thing we were talking about before. The thing that we were talking about before was is it exciting when people are just talking? Just the scene where Picard confronts Michelle Forbes' character, just laced with drama and history, and you don't even need to know it. Because what the scripts for the show does, it quickly catches you. It doesn't assume, if you do know certain things, great, you get more out of it, but you don't have to know. I am loving Picard season 3. I can't wait for the final 5. We will do a roundup of the final season. But if you're not watching the show now, this is everything Star Trek should be today is in this show. It's about ideas. It's drama. Stakes are high. Things matter. People even treat others with respect in a military fashion. You know, there's none of this, like, I feel like it feels like the writers of the modern Star Trek doesn't feel like they have a lot of life experience. I am loving Picard season 2. I feel like and Riker, Jonathan Frakes he's fantastic. The sort of like shorthand that Picard and Riker have, there's sort of, you know, and when they have disagreements, it's just there's not a wasted line in the show. It understands and respects Star Trek, and hats off to Terry Matalas for doing this. Could Terry Matalas be the shepherd of Star Trek now? Make him the new the person to shepherd this series, because what he has done is unbelievable, and I love it. Alan, what are your thoughts on Picard season 3?
Yeah, how did this show ever get made? I mean, I've not seen the first 2 seasons. I've been told I shouldn't, but this is television the way television should have been done a long time. It's a lost art form, and this harkens back to it. And I've mentioned a few times, but what's been missing out of television for decades, last decade or so, is the idea of a cliffhanger. I mean, every single episode in Picard ends on a cliffhanger that leaves you frustrated that you have to wait a week now to see the next episode. It forces you to want to know what happens next and forces you to have to wait. I think it's I should say I've not seen the 5th episode, but the 3rd episode when they're in the whatever that nebula or whatever that is, and basically Picard is the one who basically doomed the entire crew. I'm like, oh my god, this is such great television, and I have to wait now a week to figure out how the hell they get out of this situation. And then the other thing I miss about Star Trek that has been missing again for a very long time is just this idea of exploring humanity, putting people to the ultimate, pushing them up against the wall and see where they're at. And that happened to me in the 4th episode, where basically Riker says, look, we're just going to sit here and hope to survive as all the life support is about to drain away. And Picard comes back and says, no, we've got to fight. It's, if fighting means our only chance, we've got to do it. And I'm like, where is this kind of writing been? This is what got me into Star Trek and the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, and this is the thing that has brought me back. Now, I will say that I'm a little, I kind of want to go back to Next Generation, but this is one long movie, and I'm slowly warming my way up to it. And so, yes, please, Terry Matalas, please take over. Please take over. And then Captain Shaw, get him a series. Get him his own series.
There needs to be a spin-off series, or at least something. He is so likable as that character. He's he's such a curmudgeon.
By the book.
By the book. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's played kind of as the villain, but he's not. I mean, this is a very interesting character because you can't root against him. You can't say that he's this bad captain because he's probably a great captain. But the interaction that he has with Picard and Riker is just riveting. And oh my God, just please, Terry Matalas, take over. Take over.
Well, I'll just say this is the best Star Trek. This is the best Star Trek in decades.
Since First Contact, probably.
So, yeah, probably since First Contact. It's been a long time. But I'll say this is how, if they had relaunched with this, Star Trek would be huge now. And a lot of people have lost faith. We're going to go through the comments briefly. We have 2 special guests joining us in a few minutes. I appreciate their patience. They're waiting in our digital green room as we speak. But here we go. Let's go through your comments very quickly. Let's see. James Davis says, Captain Shaw is great. Conan the Barbarians for 10 says, I know people disagree with me for this, but I'm done. Star Wars, Marvel, Star Trek, I don't care. I'm just so tired. It's like taking back an ex who keeps breaking your heart over and over again. Wow, Conan. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
you're gonna be sad when Picard season 3 ends, because what's following it? What's its follow up?
Patrick Lemire says, so if you skip the first 2 seasons of Picard being a robot doesn't come up, it is addressed. It is addressed. But I didn't watch. I watched a couple episodes of the first 2 seasons. Didn't like it. Sean Espinoza says, haven't seen any Star Trek in about 15 years. I'm going to check out this Picard season. Don't watch season 1 and 2. Only watch season 3. Brian says, in current Hollywood, you fail upwards, so Terry Matalas will probably succeed downwards. Malfunction says, to boldly go. Alan Horkin, Picard season 3 has good bone structure. That makes a lot of sense.
I love how it honors the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, even
all of it.
Voyager, yeah.
All of it. Brad on the DL, or Brad DL, you can ignore all of Kurtzman Trek and just skip right to season 3 after finishing up Voyager. Well, thank you for that. All right, now it's time for us we're going to pivot. We're going to pivot briefly and welcome our next guest. So get your questions ready. I can't wait for you to see this. It's going to be, all right. Let's go. All right, we're pivoting. We appreciate your patience here. Let's talk about this. Here it is. Let me bring on director John Clayton Doyle, who's the director of I'm an Electric Lampshade. It is the story of Doug McCorkle, who's he's just sort of a regular dude who you might work with in an office. He's not a regular dude. He wants to be a rock star. And this documentary talks about his rise to being a rock star. It's a compelling, funny, heartwarming documentary that is out now. Welcome, director John Clayton Doyle, and subject Doug McCorkle's here. Doug, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Your documentary is hilarious, heartfelt. It's for everyone who wanted to live their dream. And what's so fun about watching the doc is not just your reaction and transformation, but people around you who are your friends, seeing you in a way they might never have thought that they would see you. How did this whole project come about, John? How did you meet Doug, and how did this whole thing come together?
Doug had an idea to do maybe his first real desire to get into music, to do a music video with some of his colleagues in the workplace, in the accounting department. And I was hired for that project as the choreographer. And at the end, Doug was getting some positive response from that experience and asked if we could continue working together in terms of me coaching him in the arts, in dance specifically. And from there, we started to talk about what would come next, whether that would be doing more music videos, covers of other artists versus original music. And we had the idea that we would go bigger and create a short film. And what we knew about the short film is that it ended in some sort of performance, or what became the concert and what became really the hero of the movie. And it just grew and grew and grew.
We're looking at the website right now, which if you just Google "I'm an Electric Lampshade," you'll find it. I noticed there's a quote from Film Threat on here.
Absolutely.
Very smart that there's a quote from Film Threat on here, because I think we saw it a while back, but now it's on, or wait, no, it's available on digital and on demand March 28th. So it's coming out next week, available for pre-order on iTunes. Doug, what was it like to have this experience documented?
Well, it was an amazing experience all the way around. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a more amazing retirement project than this. Trust me. But I had never done anything certainly this big, and so it was definitely stepping way outside of my comfort zone entirely. Being, a corporate accountant for all my life, you kind of live your life inside a box. And in order to learn to be a performer and learn to be a singer and dance, that whole persona has to get thrown to the side, and you really have to learn how to be vulnerable, how to take direction from people, how to listen to your coaches and take everything that's going on inside your head and put it aside so that you're progressing. And it's tough work, but in the end, it's just an exhilarating experience.
Well, let's go. We have over 700 people watching us live on YouTube right now. Our chat is on fire. We've been talking about Star Wars and Star Trek all day. So it's nice to get a break from these big franchises and talk something positive in indie film, because that's Film Threat is all about independent films. Let's go to some of these questions here in the chat. Solomon Thornton asks, how did you budget the doc?
Well, that's an excellent question. So as John said, we started out with the idea of a short film. And then as we got more ambitious and thought about it in a bigger way, we, of course, expanded the budget. But I think our ambitions certainly exceeded what we put aside to spend. And I think through creative thinking and creative just using the resources that we had to make this film, we created something that frankly, I think neither John nor I would have ever imagined doing when we started out.
Was there a particular challenge in filming the performances? I guess when I think of documentaries, I'm thinking one or two cameras. What were your thoughts kind of going into that?
Well, I think for me personally, the biggest challenge was learning to be a performer. I mean, and I spent John, of course, was coaching me, but then he brought on a host of other coaches to help me. And I had 2 vocal coaches that were helping me as well. So there was a whole team that were working together to get me up to the bar to be a good, solid performer on the stage. And, everybody kind of pulled together to help me with that. I think the challenges for us, we filmed in amazing locations, both in Mexico City and the Philippines, as well as some in the US. And so we needed extra cameras for that. And we had 2 great production companies that helped us, one in the Philippines and one also in Mexico City. And they brought on a team that really supported the small US production team that we had. And so it made it a enlivening and fun experience for all of us. John, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly getting ready for the concert in a kind of crash course period, because honing your craft and discovering what your voice is as an artist doesn't happen overnight. So taking someone like Doug, who had a career that essentially is telling you that things have to line up and make sense and add up to a correct figure, unlearning that and learning that in the arts, mistakes are sometimes your best friends, and that you have to let go of your measures of what success looks like when you go into the creative world. So the whole film, which kind of has 4 parts, the first part, which is very clearly Doc, the 4th part being the concert, is kind of taking you through the journey, whether it's going to school. He goes to a school which is clearly a scripted kind of campy fictionalized world of Doug's crash course, which was going on in real life. So it was a creative choice that we weren't going to tell the story 100% straight Doc. We used a lot of music video style sequences to move Doug's story along, but all of those sequences are at the aid of not just telling Doug's story, but the creative journey, the thrill and the fear of going into the creative world.
I have a question. We got more questions from our audience, but Doug, how'd you get that body? Look at that.
Well,
that's not bad, sir.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of hard work, my friend, and also I give a lot of credit to my fitness trainer George Corso, who also appeared in the film. He put me through my paces. I've been working with George for 20 years, and we knew what the end game was, and we had to get there in time for the performance. So he pushed me through it, man, and it was he always mixes things up, and so I give him a lot of credit for it.
Cool. Let's go to more comments here. Davina Duckworth says, I'm an Electric Lampshade. Looks like fun. Lord Thoth says, truth, love indie film. Fletcher Williams says, dance, dance. David Glenn asks, why the Philippines?
Oh, John, I'm going to let you take that.
We knew we wanted to visually have Doug look like a fish out of water. We wanted to take Doug somewhere that you could conceivably accidentally, something would be gained in translation rather than lost in translation. Where if Doug had played out this entire journey in the context of the United States, I think that journey is not as colorful and maybe a little bit harder to believe that someone in America is making it overnight. By taking it somewhere where he was foreign, it was like, okay, now we're somewhere over the rainbow. Suddenly my life in the accounting firm, which was kind of like Dorothy's canvas, black and white. Now we're going somewhere super vibrant where Doug is completely foreign. And that was a metaphor for Doug stepping into the creative world.
I think one of the other things for that, John and I definitely had a goal in this film of being very inclusive and including a lot of different people in the film. And we had talked about that right from the onset, that we didn't want it to be straight, white. We wanted it to show different cultures and have different different performers. And the Philippines was one of the ways that we achieved that. We had so many great people who were actors in their own right, performers in their own right in the Philippines, and they were following the same journey as Doug in the film. It was a great experience using all those people.
It's Okay to Laugh says, how long did the whole filming process take?
Well, we started the film in 2016. That was our first shoot. And our last shoot was in mid 2020. And then post-production took us all the way through the beginning of 2021. So good 5 years.
Look, indie films take a long time. I've been through the process myself. I have an indie film that I'm releasing next month, and took 3 years is actually fast. That's what I don't think that people that don't make movies don't understand. Like 5 years for a doc, that's average. There's another documentary I've been working on for over a decade, but this one I just did, I worked on for 3 years, and it's finally coming out. And a lot of that time is just like, it's like things that have nothing to do with making movies, like legal and distribution stuff. And look, you guys are shaking your heads. All I'm saying is I feel for you. I feel you for sure. Brock Samsonite asks, what are some of the hurdles of filming in a foreign country?
Gosh, I can't help but say I felt only benefits. I mean, number one is the locations that we found in Manila. We never would have been able to access locations like that in the US. There's so much red tape, shooting around New York. So going to the Philippines, working with locals there who knew what they were doing, we had access to incredible locations. Obviously, casting is something I'm really passionate about. So we were able to find incredible talent. Like Doug, they weren't pros. They were kind of striving for the same journey, striving to not be a regular, ordinary person, looking for their moment to shine. And so the Philippines offered that. And the same thing with Mexico, finding that concert venue where we shot. We never would have had access to such an incredible site in and around New York.
Cool. And Fletcher Williams is going to get the last two questions. We'll combine them here. Fletcher Williams asked, did you use stock music or created the music? And Fletcher goes on to say, are you still performing?
When we started this project, I never would have fathomed that we would write original music for Doug. And that ended up being the most exciting part of this process. We worked with a studio engineer named Larry Alexander, and the sessions that we had in his home studio were such a thrill. I don't come from a music background. I'm a dancer. I'm a huge dance music enthusiast, but we really had to figure out, what is Doug's sound? How do you give someone a unique sound that isn't imitating or emulating another artist? So that was a fun part of the process, but the film also does feature studio music that we did have to legally work out use of.
Cool. Well, I just want to thank both of you for being on the show today, talking about your documentary, I'm an Electric Lampshade. It is out on video on demand on March 28th. So next Tuesday. So check that out. All video on demand platforms. Thank you for being here, and good luck with the film. Congratulations. We'll see you in another 5 years when your next doc is done.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Right. You can get more information. Go to I'mAnElectricLampshade.com. It is I'mAnElectricLampshade.com. Alan, we got a lot going on, Alan. We got a lot going on. So
chat's still going on about the Mandalorian.
We could go on more about the Mandalorian, but we're gonna I think we'll do a check-in on the Mandalorian. But our show, just so people are aware, our show is going to launch Wednesday, May 3rd, Critics Court, Star Wars on Trial. It is going to replace this show, Hollywood on the Rocks. We may, if it goes on long, we might do a third show every week. We might do, We've talked about doing a Monday show, but Alan and I are so busy doing other stuff. I don't know that I could. I mean, we'll
Well,
talk.
you're doing Midnight's Edge in the morning. I mean,
I'm doing Midnight's Edge in the morning. I wouldn't do anything that conflicts with what I'm already committed to, but we could start a third show. Well, you know what? Let's let the people decide.
yeah.
Let's see how it goes. But Critics Court launching Wednesday, May 3rd. I want to thank everybody who stuck with us in our conversation today. We didn't get to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Friday is going to be our catch-up day. We're going to talk John Wick 4. We're going to talk Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk Inside with Willem Dafoe. John Wick 4, lots to talk about. That'll be for the first hour of the show, and then we'll talk about a bunch of other movies and whatnot. Alan, we're gonna have to end. We're gonna have to like hurry on that show. We got to end on time because Alan and I will both be in Anaheim for WonderCon with our panel Future Indies You Must See, starting at 7 p.m. It's going to be a blast. Conversation all about indie films that you have to go see. Alan, what else we got?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be at the panel at 4:00 for Everyone's a Critic. Yeah, keep visiting filmthreat.com. We're still pushing out South by Southwest films and some pretty amazing ones as well.
Okay, is there another highlight of a South by Southwest movie that I should see?
Oh gosh, not that I've talked about. I mean, a lot of it is, I think they're films that maybe our audience won't care too much about, but I personally do.
Can I tell you one I know they're gonna want to hear about?
Which one?
The documentary about the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh yes,
I know the filmmaker. His name is Jeremy Kuhn. He made the movie Napoleon Dynamite. I've known Jeremy for years. He also did a documentary about that fan-made Raiders movie. And we are going to get Jeremy on the show to talk about the Star Wars Holiday Special documentary. What's the name of that doc?
Is it Disturbance in the Force?
Yeah, it's called A Disturbance in the Force. Yeah. Look it up. We're going to be talking. I mean, give him a couple.
I want to see this movie too.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to get distribution. It's going to get out there. I've talked to some people that have seen it. It is amazing. They found like behind the scenes stuff from the filming of the holiday special. It's all about how it got made. They used footage from the show, and then there's behind the scenes stuff. I cannot wait to see A Disturbance in the Force. And I can't wait to see you. Make sure get your tickets to Attack of the Dog Friday, April 21st. Link in the description on YouTube. Alan, what else you got?
That's it. Let's get out of here.
All right, let's get out of here. Hopefully I'll see some of you this weekend. If you don't see me at the panel, see you at the hotel bar.
8:00 at the hotel.
I'm at Comic-Con.